King Marvin by Grace McKenzie. Steve had this idea to bring all their boys on the date. A family day out, he said. A notion sprung by text in the early hours. She scented sabotage by his ex, a move straight out of the old vitriol playbook. She could admit to some camaraderie with the woman. Still, there was no way she was letting 2 more boys inside the flat. So the 3 of them waited outside for his car. "How old are they?" Tyler had asked. She couldn't remember, so she played it safe. "Like you 2? But Tyler had frowned, obscurely displeased. Now all 4 boys are in the back seat of the Skoda Superb, 4 phones and 4 mouths on mute. As soon as they pull away from the flat, Tyler texts her, "They're just babies." She texts back, "Not babies, just twins, be nice," and blocks him. She turns once more to check on Ryan, who's been looking peaky since the M25. Everything in the back seat is still, apart from the busy tap and swipe of fingers. "Your lad all right?" Steve says from the driver's seat. "Think so. Not far now." She looks at his hands, idly flopped over the lower curve of the steering wheel, as if uninvolved in the driving. His hands are wide and tanned to the pinkish brown of the ginger in summer. A signet ring on his right hand. Before the motorway, he actually had his elbow out the window. At one point, she sensed he might be about to deliver some technical facts about the car, but he'd been distracted by Tyler opening a packet of crisps. Now, the aircon pumps out a cold breeze laced with plastic and pine that makes her sinuses tingle. She forgot to take her hay fever pills. The M2 unspools past pylons and cows and crops of potatoes and bright yellow rape. It's only when they get out of the car that she sees that Steve and his sons are dressed identically in cargo shorts and pastel-hued shirts. His is candy pink, tails flapping out the back. The twins, pale and waxy Victorian waifs, now she sees them in the bleak coastal light, wear helpfully colour-coded shirts. Ethan blue, Seth green. They stand quietly on the pavement, shoulder to shoulder, with an air of expecting nothing. Tyler and Ryan play fight in the road. "Are we having the fish and chips now?" Ryan says, from a headlock. "No," she says, "we're going for a walk first." Surprise loosens Tyler's grip on his brother. "Off you go, lads," Steve says, waving them away. The twins take off as though released from traps, while Tyler and Ryan mooch gormlessly at her back. "You got them well trained," she says. "Well, you lose your man marking with a split, don't you?" One twin slows, briefly, to emit a muffled shout into the gaping maw of a penguin-shaped bin. At her shoulder, Tyler whispers, "He just said cunt into that Pingu." She digs an elbow into his chest. Is this a way of mitigating the more taxing aspects of having your kids for the weekend? Maybe she, Tyler and Ryan are just crazy golf or a city zoo. She chides herself. Didn't Steve come off the motorway without complaint to let Ryan dry heave into a ditch? And when nothing came up, pat Ryan on the back and say, "Good work, buddy." He did. "Which way now?" she says, as the hairs on her arms rise in the brisk breeze that blows off the khaki sea. The houses thin to a footpath between the golf course and a vast shingle beach. At her back, she hears her son's treads, heavy and resentful, below the erratic descant of the twins' skittish forays. But as the path rises, all 4 boys leap down to the stones and sprint off, galvanised, as if the shore's mysterious opportunities will be taken from them at any moment. Steve pauses to look at the remains of a stout, curved wall protruding onto the path. His expression is reverent as he studies a notice board. She turns towards the sea. Tyler is a dark streak on the shoreline, his arm reaching up and back to hurl a stone. Over the summer, he grew taller than her, and as he leant across the table one morning, she saw an incipient patch of armpit hair. He starts every day disconcerted by his height, as if a trick is being played on him, but he seems reconciled to it by lunchtime. World War II defences, Steve says, nodding towards the pockmarked walls, and tells her about the undetonated mine that floated onto the beach in 1971. He is the 3rd man she's dated who's interested in military history. She sneezes. "Morning, ladies," he says, pulling her aside to let a purposeful flurry of women in fleeces pass. "Good on them, that's some pace." He nudges her. "That'll be you. You and your mates, all them from the pub, when you're groovy grannies." "We did a 5K fun run last year. Nearly killed me." "My mate ran the Pilgrim's Way in less than a week. Raised a load for sick kiddies. Lost a stone while he was at it." Yeah? He gives her the details of his mate's training regime. Out in the open, with nothing to absorb it, his voice takes on an alarming clarity as he explains the advantages of Strava Premium. She tunes out, focusing instead on the wash of the wind and the sea. It's as if the waves are breaking around her ankles, but the shoreline is distant, so far away that Ryan and Tyler's faces are featureless blobs. Even the crunch of the boys' feet on the shingle is wiped out. And the twins charge about in silence, stopping and turning as if receiving instructions. She watches as they seize driftwood to slash at a crop of sea kale, then cast the sticks aside to run at full pelt, their little pastel elbows pumping against the give of the shingle. Ryan staggers up the beach, a dark, square, heavy object in his arms. He shouts something, but his words are shredded by the wind. She waves, and Ryan keeps his eyes on her as he lets the thing tip out of his grasp and plummet to the ground. Sorry, what? Steve asks her again about her job. She mentions reward, but not that all she wants is for pupils to obey her, and how every day she is surprised anew at the ease with which she metes out punishments to other people's children. She doesn't mention that on an especially bad day, she's Googled how to become a prison officer. Bet you're great with them, he says. She gets out her phone and shows him the home screen, a drawing of her by a kid at school. I know, I look like a gerbil. A cute gerbil, he says. She gives a vacant smile to let this comment blow over, and asks him about his work. All his colleagues have nicknames, some of which are familiar to her from their first meeting. One of them is her best friend's cousin's boyfriend. Out of such connections, the same table at the same time in the fife and drum. He seemed all right. Nothing special, but not special either. The first Friday night of the school holidays, and she was susceptible to his meld of flattery and jokes. And besides, he was made of flesh, not pixels. Off it went. Her phone number into the ether, and by return his number sliding into her contacts before she could change her mind. A twin runs up and takes his father's hand, twisting on it and turning his one disc of a face away from her. He says something into his father's body as they walk. Did it hurt? No? Then don't be telling on him, Steve says. The possible permutations of inflicted pain are many. She isn't fooled for a moment by little shirts and clean shorts. She knows kids, she knows brothers. Tyler meanders towards the path and sits down. He starts to chuck pebbles that land close to the twins' feet. Ryan pulls his hood over his face so only his mouth is visible and scuffs at the shingle, now seemingly a joyless resource. Tyler, she says, when is the arcade? Before or after the fish and chips? Tyler asks, not looking at her. Waste of money, mate, Steve says. It's all rigged. Anyway, there's some artillery remains up ahead. My mum promised the arcade, not old-timey shit. It's not... Anyway, you got any money to waste? I don't think so. Someone at school won 500 quid. Steve laughs. No, he didn't, mate. You said Miranda, he can check. Take it from me, buddy. The only winner is the arcade. He won it. You can check. He's my friend. Tyler slides his phone out of his back pocket and waggles it at Steve, who puts his hands in his pockets. A twin slips behind his brother, so they are back to back. They link arms, their inscrutable little profiles looking in opposite directions as they begin to mouth something in perfect unison. Stop thinking about the war, she wants to tell Steve. She knows that for some unfathomable reason, but perhaps no more than the fact of her sex, that it's up to her to be a sport and find the fun way to resolve things. She's cold and her brain is just blundering around trying to find the exit. Something will come to her. Don't you believe me? Tyler says. You stay here with your fairy tales, mate. We're off. Tyler laughs and says, Ryan's gone already. For the love of God, Steve says. He turns to her. I thought you knew how to control children. A twin claims Ryan has turned back. Ignoring Steve's cascade of stagey sighs, they all retrace their steps. The twins are excited by the possibility of drama, and any animosity is forgotten in their desire for trouble. They nip back and forth across the path, making a show of looking behind the gorse, and shout his name in their thin, high voices. She checks her phone. No signal. Does this a lot, does he? Steve asks. Not really, she lies, and senses Tyler's glance. Tyler, can you... Tyler emits an incoherent protest, but sets off in an ungainly run, arms hanging uselessly at his sides. She pictures the places on their route that would tempt Ryan. The litter-filled moat around the castle ruin, the enticing nook of the war defences, and the pier, with its tantalising underside of pillars and beams. Must be a worry, kid like that, running off. Kid like what? She says. Come on, he says. You know. She walks faster, bag jouncing painfully against her hip, feet slipping off the edges of her sandals. As she passes the twins, one of them, the green one, tries to keep up with her. Fuck off, sweetheart, she says quietly. And just like that, he melts away. She finds Tyler outside a cafe. Ryan is inside, snug at a corner table, methodically working his way through a bowl of ice cream. An elderly waitress in a tabard sits across from him. He's told me all about his kingdom of MARVIN, the waitress says, smiling at Ryan. Sounds lovely. Dogs run everything, and there are holes in the ground for humans to sleep in. He drew me a map. The waitress holds up a paper napkin with an outline that she has seen many times before. Looks like a beagle, the waitress said. Clever, that. Yeah, she says. Clever. The waitress follows them into the street and watches as they walk towards the station. All hail King Marvin! She calls after them, raising both arms in salute. All hail